Please give your attention now to the right side. Look at the complete tutorial on how easy it is to become a citizen panelist. By the way, if you're a Luddite, there's a phone number that you can use to dial in. Okay, we're nearing the halfway point on our trip. I certainly hope that you're enjoying it. Oh look, there's the convenient call Skype button that you can click on, which will automatically connect you to the citizen panel. So now we're turning down the center of the page. I don't want you to miss any of these attractions, so please pay attention. Up first is a link to the 24/7 feed. Now these are going to come fast and furious, so pay attention. Next is a quick note on how you can hear GabNet on Amazon Echo. Next, quickly coming behind that, and this is always exciting, a screen that shows Alex Bennett's Ramble when it is live, with a countdown to the next show. It's always fun when we pass and the show is live. We're winding down our tour of gabnet.net, but before we reach our final stop, it's important to note that there is a place for you to contact them with your comments. Let them know how you like gabnet.net and the GabNet programming. And with that, we wrap up our tour. Remember, as you step off the bus, to please be careful. And also remember that GabNet is talk like you've never heard or seen it before. Did I mention, please tip your tour guide?
Reasons why you tune into GabNet. Reason number 29, the Citizen Panel.
I'm saying that he could actually, a good lawyer might be able to make a case that he cannot get a fair trial anywhere in the United States because the President of the United States said, quote, he should be executed. And if you can't find a fair jury anywhere in this country because they've all been exposed to this.
No, he'll never go to trial if he's treated as an enemy combatant.
He's not being treated as an enemy combatant, Phil.
He's basically a citizen. He has a green card. He has all the rights that a citizen of the United States has because he has a green card. Either you want to follow the Constitution of the United States or not. Go to Russia if you don't want to follow the rules.
He said that he did this for ISIS. He had a note in his thing. He had phone call on his cell phone, and he says that he did it for ISIS. Therefore,
okay, so Phil, if you did that, you should be able to be treated as an enemy combatant.
I think so.
GabNet. Reasons to listen every day. Log on to gabnet.net for more. GabNet. It's talk like you've never heard it before. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Let's all sing. Hey everybody, it's Alex Bennett. It is the Ramble, and we go until midnight Eastern Daylight Time. As always, though, every now and then we go over to the left coast of the United States of America and check in with an old friend. Ladies and gentlemen, from the other coast of the United States and my hometown of San Francisco, it's time for the music of Larry Bubbles Brown. Oh, and his orchestra.
It's all-girl orchestra.
His all-girl orchestra.
Who was the guy that had that in the 30s?
Are you ready for this? I have trouble remembering names. I'm terrible, okay? But you throw something at me like that, and all of a sudden I say Phil Spitalny.
My dad used to talk about this guy.
Phil Spitalny and his all-girl orchestra featuring Evelyn and her magic violin.
There must be videos of this. I gotta see what they did.
I would imagine if you went on YouTube, they've got to have Phil Spitalny.
There must be, yeah, but it actually sounds like it was a great idea.
Well, I mean, it was a great idea if they were all naked.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the idea was, to begin with, for some reason, I don't want to be sexist about this, but a woman looks really silly playing a trombone.
Yes.
You know, a guy looks okay playing a trombone or a tuba, you know. But Evelyn and her magic violin, of course, women play violins. Yes, it's a very feminine instrument, as a matter of fact, you know. But no, someone, I guess, felt an all-girl orchestra, and they were good, you know. I mean, who says women can't play? And I think in Some Like It Hot, the Marilyn Monroe character and her whole all-girl orchestra was kind of based on that concept of Phil Spitalny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why do I remember a name like Phil Spitalny, and halfway through this interview, I'm going to forget your name?
Yeah, exactly. Spitalny will be in there for life.
Yeah. Why is that etched in my brain? As soon as you said all-girl orchestra, I thought Phil Spitalny. And I'm going, where did that name come from? Of all the names to be able to remember, you know? Like, we're always sitting here, my wife and I, on television saying, isn't that the person who was in that thing?
Yeah.
Well, of course they were in that thing. They were in a lot of things. But who are they? And then I've always got to go to IMDb, and I feel like an idiot because it's like like Brad Pitt. You know, it's really simple. So I remember Phil Spitalny. How's your memory doing? Well, your memory's pretty damn good. It always has been.
For older stuff, but for, you know, as you get older, short-term memory is just shot.
Do you have this problem? I watch this show every day called TMZ. And TMZ is like this, you know, it's like gossip. Okay, but
Harvey Levin.
Harvey Levin, but it's a fun show. I mean, it's fun because they fight with each other, and it's just, for some reason, I find it totally acceptable to my intellect. Okay, mm-hmm. So I really don't mind it, and but they seem to always be talking about like rappers and so on, and they name people and they say, and so had a problem today, and you go, who the fuck is that?
Exactly.
Now, is it me, or is it that I'm old and I just don't follow this shit?
I don't know either. Yeah, we don't follow it.
Or I don't care who rapper Bubba ZZ is or something like that, whatever the name might be.
Yeah, the rap world is pretty foreign to me.
Well, I mean, it's not like I didn't care about rap. I mean, I always kind of liked rap because there was years ago in New York, I had on the air a group called The Last Poets. And basically what they were doing is what you now call rap. And this was all born, and when I had them on the show, they explained what they were doing was actually invented in prisons.
Wow.
And this would be things that people would do in prisons. And you go, oh, that's pretty interesting. You know, that makes a lot of sense. And I loved it. And it wasn't exactly rap as we know it today, but it was the genesis of rap. And so I always remember that, and I always liked what they did. And when other people were doing stuff similar to it, I paid attention to it. So it wasn't like I'm that alien to rap. But it's just that today, everybody's a fucking star.
I know.
You know, I mean, what I used to hate was when people would apply the word genius to anybody. You know, oh boy, he's a genius at that, or he's a genius at this, or he's a genius, he's a real genius. You know, and no, he's not a genius. He does what he does very well, but he's not a fucking genius. Einstein was a genius.
Yeah.
And how dare you minimize what Einstein did by saying that, you know, some comedian is a genius.
Right. They say in comedy, genius is about C+.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a show on CNN. You get cable, don't you?
No.
Oh, jeez.
My sister does. I can't sit there.
See, it's why I love you, Larry. You have completely disconnected from the world.
Yes, and it feels wonderful.
Yeah, and your act doesn't rely on current events, so it doesn't matter.
Timeless.
But on CNN, they had this show called The History of Comedy. And I've
heard. Someone told me that's actually pretty good.
I brought this up last night on the show, and they had a thing about dead comics. The whole episode was about comics who died, And some people who allowed their acts to die because they didn't want to keep doing them, like Steve Martin and Larry David, people like that. But basically it was about dead people. And they mentioned Bill Hicks was the first image in the show.
Wow.
You know, who we all can... That was a comedy genius, okay? And he died. He died at 32, pancreatic cancer. Terrible. Terrible. Just terrible. A loss, a major loss. And they mention a lot of other people and so on. And then the whole documentary is over, and I'm thinking, where's Sam Kinison in this? Where's Lenny Bruce? They didn't mention Lenny Bruce.
And overlook that.
Yeah, and then somebody brought up, there were a couple others that people called up and brought up that weren't in it as well. And I'm trying to remember the other one that somebody brought up yesterday who died and wasn't brought up in the documentary. I'm going, how do you do a documentary of comedians who died and you don't even start off with Lenny Bruce? You just don't mention him at all.
That's pretty glaring.
And Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was huge.
Oh, enormous.
Yeah, but they ignored him. And yet they mentioned some other people like Greg Giraldo or whatever, who I quite frankly never heard.
Giraldo was good, but but Kinison was just...
Yeah, they showed Schimmel for a quick second. They showed Schimmel, and that was nice. I mean, you're not going to mention people like George Burns and Jack Benny because they lived to an old age and then they died, right? Oh my God, George Burns is dead. Let's put him in this documentary about dead people. Let's see here. They mentioned Joan Rivers. There was one other person that somebody mentioned last night they did not bring up, and I went, I'm kind of turned off to that series because you can't do your homework that well and get two major omissions. It's kind of like every year they do that in memoriam at the Academy Awards, and there's always people they leave out.
They always leave some major person out.
Yeah, sorry, we left out Henry Fonda. I mean, it's... And you go, yeah, sure, you really fucked up on that one. But
Kinison died in April of '92.
Yeah. Now you're not looking that up, are you?
No.
See, he's Rain Man, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you can double check this, but I'm pretty. It was the first Friday of April of '92.
Wow. And it happened as he was driving to Vegas.
Yeah, I think he was going to a gig outside Vegas, and he actually got a drunk driver cross the line and hit him.
Yeah, and the big line that everybody had, did you ever think Sam Kinison would die from drugs but in somebody else's body? Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. We all thought he'd be, we'd hear about Sam Kinison died, he had an overdose or a dose or what, But no, the drugs were in somebody else's body. In the case of Schimmel, I mentioned him last night. Here's a guy who had cancer maybe twice, needed a liver transplant the last time I saw him. Had a son, by the way, who died of cancer. Remember how he was spending all his time on the road making enough money to pay the hospital bills?
Yeah.
And would take the kid on the road with him. And it was a boy. He finally died at about 11. Very tragic life. Parents were in concentration camps. I mean, if you want to say my life sucks, just compare it to Robert Schimmel's, and you got no problems. Okay. And how does he die? His daughter's driving the car and plows into a lamppost or a tree or something like that and kills him.
Yeah, I think it was a car that he bought for her.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a very strange death. And they also, one other thing they didn't do in this documentary, when people die, when you say, okay, so and so died, what's the next thing you say? You say at the age of.
Yeah.
There was none of that. Nobody said at the age of. They never. Bill Hicks, dead. Oh, yeah. And they didn't even say what he died from. You know, it's only a quick sentence. He died of pancreatic cancer at 32.
Yeah, you got to have the age.
Yeah. But, geez, Hicks, to this day, I miss Hicks. You know, he was brilliant.
Yeah,
he was brilliant.
Good guy, too.
He was brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. Who's a comedian that died that you felt bad about?
I felt real bad about Kinnison and Robin. So.
Mm-hmm.
Just that Robin's been dead for 4 years now. It just time slides by.
Yeah, but it went by pretty fast. But in that time, they named a tunnel after him and a park, a meadow in Golden Gate Park. So, you know.
Yes, and I think for you and I, we're going to get a. What will we have named after us? An off-ramp?
Me? Then not going to name anything. They'll probably say, who was he? You know. I mean, I'm a who was he is who I am, really. You know, some people in New York remember me, and some people in San Francisco remember me. But because I was popular before syndication, I didn't have a national presence. So, you know, radio hosts, stars, were heroes in their own neighborhood, so to speak. You know, like in San Francisco, people in the rest of the country never heard of Don Sherwood. But if you were from San Francisco, the biggest radio personality probably in the country.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. But you didn't hear them because we're all kind of local. I call us, you know, parking lot stars. You know, we have a local fame. In San Francisco, you go to Sacramento, nobody knows who the fuck you are. You know, so you were a local big shot. And today, you know, if you're a local big shot and you do real well, they just give you a syndicated show, so you're then on 50 radio stations. Hell, I'm doing this show for this friend of mine who has a show on 50 stations. He only does it on Sunday nights between 10 and 1 in the morning, okay? And he does it from his laundry room in his house.
Really?
Yes. And they got the phone screener in Philadelphia and the engineer in Philadelphia. And he just sits there with this little box and starts talking into it and has a screen that says, oh, you have a call on line 1 or whatever. And that's it. I mean, when I'm going to be doing the show, and I'm going to be doing it out of CBS here in New York, and he says it's going to be a dingy little studio. And the producer is in the screener is in Philadelphia, and so's the engineer. I'm not going to see anybody.
So totally isolated.
That's why I wanted you to be on the show, but you can't do it because you got a gig that night. Because I'm going to be lonely.
Well, you're going to be back in America's mind. This will be great.
No, I don't want to be. You know, I mean, this is not. I don't want to host somebody else's show. I want to host my own show. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe somebody will wake up and give you one.
Nah, forget it. At my age, and one of the things I plan to do on this show is to actually announce what my age is. But I'm going to start off the show by saying I'm not going to tell you till the end of the show, and then I'm going to talk about the discrimination in aging that goes on in this country.
Which is the only discrimination that's widely accepted.
Oh yeah. You're 78. Well, you can retire. What do you mean I can retire? I don't have enough money to retire. You kidding me? Bubs, you got enough money to retire?
No, that's why I keep working.
Yeah, exactly.
Showbiz generally doesn't have a good retirement plan.
My wife is 98 and she's still working.
At McDonald's.
No, she's going to hate me for that. Because I revealed her true age. No, I'm kidding. Please, I'm kidding, folks. I don't want to have her go, what the hell did you say about me? But, you know, I mean, who can, you know, this whole idea of retirement, most of us are forced into retirement. I was lucky. I kept working until I was 73. Most people can't find a job at 56, 57.
No.
You know? And if you went out for a job, here's the one I don't like. Here's the one that bothers me. If you went out for a job as a comedy writer, you wouldn't be able to get it.
No, they were, God, this is 30 years ago. They said if you're over 35, you were not considered by TV as a writer.
Yeah. So figure that one out. I thought that writing you did in a quiet little room all by yourself and nobody saw how old you were. Mm-hmm. And that you wrote a joke and it was either funny or it wasn't funny.
Yeah. Well, the networks, which were always run by morons, I think they had the feeling that if you were over 35, you were out of touch.
I think it was 45,
people.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 35. Do you remember there was this one woman who went to the networks to propose a show, and they said, well, how old are you? And she said, because she looked it, I'm 18.
I don't remember. I do remember that story, yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the series was. If I said the series, everybody would know its name. And they said, you're 18 and you wrote like this? She said, yeah, just off the top of my head. Well, you're hired and we're going to do this show. And they did the show and they made her the head of it and everything. She was the head writer and she wrote episodes for it and so on. And then they found out she was 32 and canceled the show.
Mm.
Why? She lied to us. What do you mean she lied to you? You were going to make a discriminative decision based upon her age, so she told you she was 18 and you fell for it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
And what do you remember the series?
I can't remember. It was like Felicity or something like that. Maybe, what was it, Felicity? I don't know. I have to look it up.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, she was like 30 or 32, and so she was 18.
And as soon as they found out she was 32, I mean, here would be my reaction if I was at the network. Oh, you're really 32? Cool. You really write well, and you write for a young audience. We love that.
Right.
Just keep it up. But no, they went, you lied to us, you're fired, and they canceled the series.
And that's why TV died.
And I don't think she's gotten a job since. Okay?
Wow.
You know, so talent has nothing to do with it. You know, and ages has everything to do with it. Audiences discriminate against age. You know, if you're too old and you get up on a stage and there's a young audience out there, they're just not going to laugh at you. If they're at a comedy show at all, because I don't know if young people go to comedy shows anymore. Yeah,
It's mostly younger people. I think the average age of a comedy club is 25.
Really?
Yeah, and there's some consultants. They had a big meeting a couple of years ago for comedy clubs and bookers and producers, and the consultant said the average age of patrons 25. If they walk in and see someone on stage that's 50, they feel like they've made a mistake.
Wow. See?
Mm-hmm.
And that should have nothing to do with it. Hey,
no.
Is it funny or isn't it funny? Did it make me laugh or didn't it make me laugh? And I just, you know, so imagine me at my age trying to get a job in radio. You know, I'll walk in the door and the HR person will look at me like I'm from outer space, like I'm a Martian.
Oh, yeah.
And they won't say, we're not hiring you because of your age. They'll say, boy, you're a real pro. Like that's what I was told by one guy. You're a real pro. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we listened to your show you did the other night for us, and boy, you're a pro. Well, good. What does that mean? I'm so old that
we're not going to use you.
What you're saying is I'm not getting the job, right? That's what you're saying. So, you know, in a way, I've given up. I mean, here a friend of mine offers me a national show on 50 stations to do because he wants to take the night off, and I really don't want to do it. You know, and I don't want to do it because I've given up. I've given up trying to do it. You know, in my mind, doing radio was a thing of the past. going into a studio and sitting down and doing a show was always something I loved doing, but I realized that that was never going to happen again. And I'm pretty much finding out that's never going to happen again anyway, because they told me it's a dingy studio over at CBS, so I'm expecting I'm going to be doing my show out of a broom closet. You know. So am I good? Can I still do it? You know something? I don't know. I really don't know. Because I haven't done it in 5 years, and that's the longest period I've ever gone without having a radio job. I think the longest I ever went was like 6 months. Actually, no, a little longer, a couple of years when I was between California and when I came to New York. And, but, you know, for the most of my life, I've been in a padded room talking into a big bulbous object. You know, and I haven't done that in 5 years. And I even wonder if I can still drive. It's been a couple of years since I got behind the wheel of a car, and I'm wondering if I can still drive. I probably can. I probably get behind the wheel. It's
probably like a bike. You don't forget.
You know, about 10 minutes in, I will have everything down okay, and we're on our way. But I still, you know, it bothers me. I don't know whether I can drive anymore. To any great extent. We were thinking about driving up to Vermont next month, and then we decided we're going to not do that. We're going to take a plane. But I was going to drive around for a while, and I was a little worried. Do I still know how to drive? So maybe one of these weekends I'm going to rent a car, take out lots of insurance.
Lots of insurance. Total it.
And see if I can drive. Or whether, you know, my wife doesn't think she can anymore, although she probably can. Again, you know, it's the fear of something you haven't done in a while. But yeah. I really don't understand it. Are you? How old are you now? You're 65.
I'm Medicare. Yes.
You're Medicare, and you're 65.
And I drive every day virtually.
Do you get Social Security yet?
I took that early, yeah.
Oh, you took it early, yeah. Yeah, I took it early, too. What the hell, you know? I mean, they're making a bet you're going to live.
Yeah, you wait too long and crook.
Most people...
Then you wait 4 years, and it takes a while to make that up, what you've lost. So.
Most people don't make it to 65.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
You know, so, I mean... that's why I think Social Security should start at 55, because at 55 nobody's going to hire you anyway.
Right.
You know. But anyway, listen, hey, it's always wonderful to talk to my good friend Larry Bobbles Brown.
It's great to talk to you, and I have no doubt that you're going to do great on this national thing, because I mean you've been doing your podcast and everything, so. It's not like you've been sitting around not doing anything.
Well, it's 3 hours, which is a long
time. Yeah, it is a long time to fill.
Yeah, but when you consider that the commercial time involved, it really comes out to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you quickly. Well, I'll tell you the story next week. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Bubbles.
Thank
Good
you,
talking to you. Bye-bye.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is Gabby, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And yeah, here we are. Let me stick this in my ear right so I can hear with both ears. There we go. Okay, fine. Hi, how are you? I'm Alex Bennett, and we're here until midnight. And I guess I should turn on the Skype and see if anybody wants to call. We're not going to hear from Phil tonight, obviously, because tomorrow morning Phil goes in for his heart procedure, shall we say. It's not really I guess anything's an operation whenever they have to go inside of you. But he's having sticking a balloon up there and clearing out some exorptionist that he's got in his arteries. And if they find that it's too blocked, they may have to do a a bypass. But he won't know that till he wakes up and finds a zipper in his chest. So, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm concerned about him, and I hope that he's okay, and that he comes out of this just fine. So he won't be with us tonight because he's got to get some sleep, because he's got to be 6 o'clock in the morning. They're going to be operating on him. I don't know if I want a doctor operating on me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Wait a minute, let me turn on the. No wonder nobody's calling. Let me turn the Skype on here. I don't know if I want somebody operating on me at that time of the morning. Okay. It's a little early. You know, I want the guy wide awake, couple of cups of coffee in him, ready to rock and roll. But anyway, how would you feel about this, Scott, if you were being operated on at 6 o'clock in the morning? Or he says he has to be there at 6 o'clock, so I don't know if that's when the operation is.
It is what it is. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but would you want to have somebody operating on you at that time of the morning?
Well, they're probably rested unless they've been operating all night. I don't know. I mean, would you rather it be later in the afternoon when they're dead tired? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Here are a couple of variables. The doctor left home right after having a fight with his wife. Okay.
In the morning?
Yeah. How would that affect him? Is he that professional that he doesn't take that argument with his wife to work with him?
Most doctor wives probably don't argue that much because they're married to a doctor.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're assuming that. See, here's the thing I always wondered about, and I was told this by lawyers, that if you are going in front of a judge to be sentenced, you want to be sentenced. What did they say? After lunch.
After lunch.
After lunch. Yeah.
After he's had his fill of beer and
and food and
whatever. Yeah.
And he's in a much better mood. But you don't want him like just before lunch because he's hungry and grouchy. Does that make sense?
That kind of makes sense.
So wouldn't that make sense with a doctor who's operating on you?
It's 6 in the morning. I mean, he's probably been up. He's,
I guess they're used to doing it
like 8 or 9 or in the afternoon when he's happier.
I guess they're used to doing it that time of the morning.
I think they like to do their surgeries early and then do their rounds in the afternoon, and they can take their lunch and then do their follow-ups, I think. I don't know. I watched much at Grey's Anatomy, I guess.
Okay, yeah. By the way, let me say that because Phil is not going to be here. All right, and Jeff is in Italy.
I hope he wasn't in that bridge crash.
No, I hope he wasn't in Genoa. Yeah.
Jeez. I thought, oh my God, I know only one person in Italy now.
Yeah, is he fine? No, I'm sure Jeff is fine, but we don't have Jeff tonight, so we need the rest of you to take up the slack, folks. You know.
Rob once in a while, I miss it.
Yeah, Rob. I wrote Rob, and he's just been his life has kind of changed for him. He's kind of like doing other stuff. To begin with, he's a big baseball fan, so he's stuck with all the baseball games, and he's just tired of the news and says he feels he has nothing to contribute. So, yeah, I can understand that, and hopefully he will at some point get an itch to give us a call. And we'll hear from him, and,
Albert could call in today. That'd be nice.
Well, actually, Albert won't be able to call in today.
Oh, okay.
Because he's going on vacation. Are you?
Oh, I see. Okay.
John Perula's just joined us. Hold on a second. There's John. Yeah, he's going on vacation. Do you know where he's going on vacation?
I'd say
he's living in Florida now. So take a guess where he's going on vacation.
Probably New York.
Yeah.
No, Disneyland.
No, you got it right. New York. Where do you think he's staying?
Probably at your place.
That's right. He'll be here for a week starting tomorrow, so hopefully we can get him on the program here. So.
Oh, that was the mystery guest, and I thought it was going to be like Durst or Bobcat Goldthwait or Michael Pritchard.
Well, it would never,
Michael Pritchard says to say hi to you, by the way. I ran into him. Both of us were lone wolves, bumped into each other at the movie theater, going to see one of the greatest films ever made, The Meg, with Jason Statham and Megalodon. You know, just fantastic. Very deep film.
Well, don't ever count on Goldthwait being on this program, please.
Right. Under
no conditions. It will be a cold day in hell when Bob comes on. It could always happen. You know, it could always happen. But you know. Yeah, somebody just wrote a list here of all the people that were not in that show where they talked about dead people. Well, no, Ray, they mentioned George Carlin, but they did not mention Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor. They didn't mention Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
And I don't think they mentioned Richard Pryor. They may have. I may have dozed off or something, but they certainly didn't mention Andy Kaufman. So anyway. I
thought George Carlin was spelt with a C, Ray Renati.
Yes, it is.
It's C-A-R-L-I-N.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, Ray's a nice guy. I don't care how he spells stuff.
How come he's not on? Is he walking maybe?
Well, he'll probably wind up calling. You know, it's just a matter of time. You know, I just hope that the doctors are in good shape tomorrow. The only problem I have is that, you know, he's having it done at Kaiser. Yeah. And I don't know if you know about Kaiser, but as Bubbles used to call it, he called it doctor-assisted suicide. And
well, it's not a joking matter.
No, it's not a joking matter, but neither is Kaiser, where my father died, and
oh no,
yeah. So, you know, I mean, I just you know, oh, here comes Steve. Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be a great night. Anyway,
he's walking in the wind.
Huh?
No.
In the wind.
Yeah, you're gonna walk in the wind again for us tonight, or out in traffic?
I will. No, it's not very windy, and I'm going to mute. I'm going to get some Italian bread, but I'll mute when I eat and sit on the bench to the little breeze if there's a little.
How
breeze.
do you do all this when you're technically blind?
Because I'm amazing. No, you know, I'm highly partially sighted.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Are you considered legally blind?
Yes, I am.
But you're highly partially sighted?
Right. That means, you know, I can get around. You know, you remember how Randy was when at DLJ?
No, I don't remember how Randy was.
Well, that's very similar to me. You know, I can't read regular print unless I have those.
You know, I just wanted a simple explanation. I didn't want a whole thesis.
Okay, well, you know, it is Gabnet after all.
Yeah, but it's not thesis radio, you know.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, my color is good.
Your color is good?
Yeah, I use that a lot. If there's something in the distance.
Oh, your color! You know, I thought you meant you didn't look sick. Your color is good.
No. Well, that's good too.
You can see.
No, I mean my color perception visually is very, very strong.
Yeah.
I'm like a bird.
Yeah. So, well,
bird's eye.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Can you watch porn?
Yeah.
You can listen to it.
I can listen to it. I could watch it too. The only thing is I have to look close. You know, like this phone I have is it's a 5.3 screen. So if I hold it, like a foot away
my friend, and I'm trying to remember his full name, Governor Patterson of the state of New York, I got to be a friend of, is blind. He's technically blind.
Yes.
We walked out of a restaurant with him, and he said, "I'm going to walk home," and he just walked home. He didn't have a cane or anything. He had a certain. He was
very similar.
Yeah. Kind of partially sighted, but he was very good at it. And the only thing is that, like, when it came time to pay the bill, he said, "Could you write in the tip, because I can't see how much the money is." So I think we left a decent sized tip, But he was amazing when it came to that. I mean, I said, "Do you want us to go home with you?" And he, "Oh no problem." He just, last thing we saw of him, he's walking off in the distance, So you can be blind and not be blind,
Right. Yeah. It's. I mean, and if I'm in a familiar area, like right now, when I moved here about 2 years ago, I would walk in the street where I am now, because on the sidewalk with with the blocks are up, I would trip sometimes. And now I know where everything is, and I lift my feet, and I'm not going to. I don't need the cane. If I had a cane,
again, we don't need a thesis here. We don't.
Right, it would take me forever. With the things I have to carry.
Yeah. Listen closely, folks. We're going to give a test later.
Yeah.
Alex, you got to give a prize. If you're going to have a quiz, then you got to give like a booby prize or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Yes, Scott.
Alex, when I was young in Iowa, we had the state blind school in my hometown, and they used to fast track some of the blind students into our high school to get them acclimated to, life outside of, the blind school.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one guy that, he had he could see, but he had these, Steve is talking about, these Coke bottom glasses. And the guy was very smart. He was a computer wizard and whatnot, but he actually drove a car. And that just scared the hell out of him.
I was just going to say,
what?
I was going to say, if I was in an area where there was no traffic, I could drive. I'd have to be really careful. I'm just waiting to I want to get somebody, or I'll get the flat on my bicycle fixed. And at least in 2 weeks, I'll be back on the bike, and I love it.
Yeah.
Don't come near me.
Anyway, I won't.
Here in New York on 23rd Street, there was I believe it was a home for the blind.
That's right.
Yes, there was a home for the blind on 23rd Street, and I swear to you, and I'm not lying, in the window they had a sign for people who are trying to peddle stuff and whatever that said "No menus." At a home for the blind, no menus. You have to read menus. Do you get the joke? I mean, but it really...
Yeah, we're all laughing.
Right, yeah.
Are you laughing on the inside, or can you laugh on the outside for my benefit?
Well, that's what I have to... if I'm going to a place where they have the menu, up on the board, on the, lit up, some of them are pretty big, but I can't read them. I just have to
Braille?
ask.
What about Braille menus?
Braille, you know what? One of these, I know it a little bit. I never learned it, but I really want to, because it's very useful.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Stevie Wonder. How do you know when you're finished wiping your ass?
I remember that.
That's funny.
That's very bad. That's nasty.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. Stevie was very good about that.
Hey, when I first moved to San Francisco many moons ago, there was a window guy that used to drive around in a van. His name was Hunt, and used to see him drive around all the time. His sign on his truck read, "Hunt, the blind man driving."
I like it.
Hunt, the blind man driving?
Yeah, he sells blinds.
Oh, Hunt, the blind man driving.
Or you could look at it as you could hunt the person. You could hunt.
See, I thought the joke was going to go somewhere about the misspelling of hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's a guy in San Francisco now who's on Facebook, And
I better mute.
He's got this call out to anybody who has photos in film, like 8mm film of San Francisco from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s. So because San Francisco's changing so crazy now, you wouldn't recognize it if you hadn't visited it in a long time. So I think that's kind of cool, just to have all these old memories that people are going to forget.
Yeah, it's funny. I of course shot more videotape than I care to know, and yet I'm trying to think that all the time I lived in San Francisco, did I ever do any real videotaping of San Francisco? And I would have to say no.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'd go to Europe and I would videotape 8 hours worth come back with 10 hours worth of videotape. I'd go to China, come back with another 8, 10. San Francisco, if you asked me to pull out some footage of San Francisco, I'd have a pretty hard. I think on my last trip to San Francisco, I shot the most I ever shot of San Francisco.
Hey, I filmed Wavy Gravy in videotape in a parade. He was in his clown suit. He was sitting on some big float, and he was waving side to side. You know what, to people? But wait a minute.
That wasn't his clown suit. He used to. That's how he wore his.
Well,
clothes.
yeah, you're right. So when he gets to me, he looks at the camera and he flips me the bird. He's waving to everybody else, but when he gets to me, he flips me the bird.
So for you,
and I got it on video.
For you, he was flipping gravy. Wavy Gravy. I always had a certain. How could I put it?
Well, you were at Woodstock. You must have met him or seen him. Or something.
I knew him.
Yeah.
I know him by the name Hugh Romney.
Yeah, Hugh Romney, right?
Forget about Wavy Gravy. It was always Hugh, and he was kind of, I don't know, I never could figure out whether I really thought he was interesting or not. Wavy Gravy, for people who don't know who Wavy Gravy was, because, people on this show bring up references that anybody under the age of 50 never heard of. Wavy Gravy was one of the head, I would say, was the head honcho with a group of people called the Hog Farm.
Yeah.
And the Hog Farm went around and did, he was always dressed up as a clown. Yeah. And they would do all kinds of little street theater and things like that, and, show up at various events, like they were at Woodstock, as an example. But he just, one time I remember my most interesting time with Wavy was that Paul Krasner and I were asked if we would go do the not the Jerry Lewis telethon, but the cerebral palsy telethon, and so we both agreed to do it. I don't know why. He decided he wanted to do it because he wanted to write an article on doing a telethon, and I decided I would do it because, hell, how can I say no to kids who are gimpy? So I go to this thing, and to begin with, I get really pissed off because there's this woman who gives us a lecture before we go on the air, saying we don't refer to cerebral palsy as to the people who have it as being handicapped. We refer to them as handy-capable. And I thought that was the most pretentious piece of crap I ever heard in my life. If I were handicapped and you called me handy-capable, I'd fucking hit you. I mean, it's just, well, don't condescend to me by calling me handy-capable. Am I right, Steve? You can't hear me.
He fell asleep. Hey, but that sounds like
you're right.
What?
You're right. Yeah, yeah, Abby Normal. I can never understand even the handicap. I don't even know. It sounds like a horse race or something.
Yeah, but at least handy-capable just sounds like it's pretentious.
Oh, it's so condescending.
And it's condescending, yeah. So anyway, So now we go on the air, and I've got a script to read. It's on a teleprompter. And I say, well, folks, you want to give us cerebral palsy, blah, 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 blah. You know, the people in back of me are answering the phones. And these people, ladies and gentlemen, are the face of cerebral palsy. And as I say that, sitting right behind me, over my shoulder, is Hugh Romney in clown face. And as I say, this is the face of cerebral palsy. I point to you, Romney.
Good one.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah, it was one of my greatest moments in show business. Yeah, that's the last time I ever did a. I did the only one I would ever do. I believe it or not, I used to do the muscular dystrophy telethon. The Jerry Lewis telethon. And the reason I would do it, that was in spite of Jerry Lewis, it was the only organization where I found that something like 90% of the funds that were raised actually went to research. Everything else, like cerebral palsy, I stopped doing that the minute I found out cerebral palsy. It was like 45%, only 45% went to research. The rest went to paying high-paid executives to collect money from you. Yeah. But so I always, after that, I always checked out how much, people were charging. How much people, what kind of percentage was going back to the actual solving of the problem at hand.
Alex, did you ever hang out with the Diggers? Peter Coyote's bunch.
I never. I think I bumped into them on one occasion, but I never.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Diggers were a common fixture and hate during the Summer of Love and that time of the hippie fame, and they used to drive around in a big pickup truck or a flatbed, throwing out food and money. They used to throw, fives and ones all over the street, and people would go scrambling. And famous actor and narrator Peter Coyote used to be a digger. That's one of the things he did.
That's why his name is Peter Coyote. That's not his real name. That was his digger name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, hey, listen. By the way, folks, you can call. It would be nice if you joined us. Join the citizens panel. Don't put all the weight on the backs of just two people and Steve.
Hey, then as a consolation prize, you'll get this. It's a worm blower. Check that out. Magic worm blower. What this device? It's still in the package, so I could get a lot of money for it someday. What this does is it's for fishermen. You take the little red cap off of this thing. It's just filled with air, and you stick it in a worm, and you blow the worm up, and go fishing with an enhanced worm, and that's supposed to improve your fishing production. So that's what you get as a prize.
So let me get this straight. You're into blowing worms?
No, I bought this at Gus's on Balboa Street. Did you ever shop at Gus's, Alex? You must have.
No.
You're right at the end of Balboa Street near Playland. Well, that's where I got this thing, from Gus. He sells all kinds of weird fishing paraphernalia. Guy's been in there since the 1940s. And you know what? That store is still open. I think his daughter runs it now. It's really amazing.
Really?
So that's where I got my worm blower.
So let's see. Tonight we have the worm blower, and yet last night we had colon blow.
Hey, let me ask you. I don't remember from my biology or whatever, but insect or reptile, like worms, do they have? They must have some kind of reproductive organs, right?
I think worms are hermaphroditic. They can be both male and female.
Yeah, right.
So what do they do? They fuck themselves? Is this what?
Yeah.
So if you tell them to go fuck themselves, they wouldn't get offended.
All right. Sounds like a good idea.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's a cool one. So I've got another penis thing if you want to take a look at it here.
Another penis thing?
Yeah.
What-
Well, blowing reference.
Oh, yeah.
What is it you're holding up now?
This is my wife's favorite thing. It's a rhinoceros squirt gun. You press this thing and the water comes out of the nozzle.
Out of the mouth, out of the front of the.
Yeah, right there. See that?
Oh, look, Tommy Yamaguchi. Just as you come on, you see a rhinoceros with a triggered penis there, or whatever that is.
Exciting.
That's a water gun?
Yeah.
I literally have an. I have an elephant gun. I really do. It's a little. My brother had it. It's a little handheld water pistol.
Yeah.
Really?
The water comes out the trunk.
Well, this here, the water comes out the mouth there on
Yeah.
that thing? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's very
And
nice.
you could fill this with Jack Daniels or water, whatever,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If you were, let me ask Tom this. Tom's a father, right, Tom?
Yes.
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 And if did you ever let your kids play with not guns but water guns?
Water pistols? Yeah, I think they've had water pistols.
Because some people are just like, no, I wouldn't have my child, use water pistols because it's not politically correct, and you're telling them how to use guns.
That is so ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, really, come on. Political correctness run amok.
Yeah. I was just wondering about that because I'd actually, hello, Keenan.
Hi, Alex. Hi, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Keenan. Panel, Keenan. We have John Peroulis, and we have Steve, who's the picture of the telephone. We have Scott, he's down in Texas. And we have Tom Yamaguchi, who is a long-time follower of my programs and I'm sure his brain has turned to mush by now. So,
Long time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show you. I've worn this shirt on the program before, my General Magic shirt.
Right.
I discovered there's actually a documentary made of that company that's out. They're looking for a distributor, but it's a story. It's the General Magic story.
Now, General Magic, and let me see if I've got this, if I remember this correctly, because a lot of these tech companies came and went pretty fast. General Magic actually had some hardware, didn't they? And it was a little slate. It was like an iPad, but a small version of that.
One of the first handheld computers that connected to the internet.
Yeah. And I had one.
You actually sold or gave a demo here in Berkeley at the Whole Earth Access store.
Yeah.
Where this is how I got the T-shirt. I got this T-shirt from you.
Right. Oh, really?
Yes.
See, I don't even have that T-shirt. Why don't I have that T-shirt?
You gave it to me.
well, there were more than one.
Yeah, you gave a bunch of them.
I don't know how long that company lasted, but it had to be about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
that's about right.
I've never heard of them.
Never heard.
I never have.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would have because I advertised them. So it's probably why you never heard of them.
Was it before Apple?
No.
Well, it was before Apple did an iPad. Yeah, Apple was around. Apple was around from the very beginning with computers.
Yeah, actually, while this company's existence, that's when they brought out the Newton.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Another wonderful idea. Did
Hey,
you?
when
hold on a second. They gave me a Newton. They gave me a Newton. I was doing this show, Log On TV. So they gave me this Newton to play with. Apple. Here, go have fun with it. Do a piece on it, right? Well, the piece I wound up doing was, hey, no matter what you write into this, it never comes back and says it right. Because the idea was you should be able to write on this thing, and then if I write "Hello, John Peroulis," it should then turn it into print. "Hello, John Peroulis," and it would come out.
Yeah. that happened to me. They had a display. Remember the old computerware stores?
Yeah.
They had a display in the Berkeley store, and they had like the little stylus there, and I went up with my left hand and started trying to write, and it just turned in all kinds of weird symbols I'd never seen before in my life.
That was
not very good advertising.
Well, I mean, you know, it was an idea that the concept of what it was supposed to be was a great idea. But the follow-through certainly wasn't. And if you think about it, to this day, we really don't have a handwriting recognition program for a tablet. They never built that into the iPad or whatever. You just type it, right? But it would be nice if you could write it and then it turned your cursive into print. But everybody's cursive is different.
Oh, sure.
You know, I think handwriting is like a fingerprint. Nobody writes exactly the same way.
Yeah. When I had a Palm Pilot, you could write on it, but you had to write letters in a specific way for them to translate.
Right, and that was a pain in the ass because you had to learn the alphabet all over again.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was able to do it.
You know, the A was like a upwards down triangle thing and so on. But I remember that. I remember that very well. And the Palm Pilot actually is kind of what put the Newton out of business because everybody kind of fell in love with the Palm Pilot. That was until the iPhone came along, at which point nobody gave a shit about the Palm Pilot. You know. And I guess they went out of business a short time after that.
Yeah.
Computer question, the easy one, because you always followed computer. Well, when did Apple actually start? When did they? I mean, they were there almost like from the beginning of computers. But they IBM? They weren't before IBM, though, right?
No. They started 76.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what. Were they the ones that had that little that handheld little football game and all that thing people used to play? Was that Apple?
No.
No.
Apple was the Apple computer. There was the Apple II, which is the first Apple I ever saw.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Al Goldstein owned one, and I played with it a little bit and couldn't figure out what it was good for, and finally went back to playing with this Atari, which, by the way, was a very good computer on its own, the Atari 800. But you know, basically, I used them to play games. Fuck it, you know. They weren't that good as computers. They only became good at computers the minute I realized that a computer could be useful. Was that I had an Atari 800, which only had 400 characters across the screen. But I had a program somebody gave me. It was a bootleg called VisiCalc. And I put it in, and it was like I saw that it was like a spreadsheet. So I called my accountant, and I said, "Gary, you got to get over here and see this thing. Tell me what it is." And he went over and he saw. He said, "Well, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet." He said, "Let me just put some numbers in there." And he put in like 400, and then the next line 400, and then created a total, and it totaled it up. And he said, "This is amazing. Where do we get these?" You know, and immediately we went out and we got, well, actually what we went out and got were IBM computers at the time, because
I still remember
it changed his whole life, because up until then he was going blind doing spreadsheets, you know, and having to write in and use the calculator to add up the rows of numbers and everything. And now here's somebody would just go, bloop, there were the numbers that were all added up. And yes,
I was just thinking.
What?
I was just going to say, I just remember, I thought it was so funny when I heard this. It's not because it's mean, but it is about President Reagan, so, you know.
Well, will you get to what you're going to say?
Yes. What is the difference at the time, this is 30 years ago, what was the difference between President Reagan and an IBM Selector 200 typewriter?
I have no idea.
The IBM has a colon and a memory.
Very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Tom Yamaguchi.
Yes, I was just going to make a recommendation to Steve. There's a great book, and I've recommended it to other people. Everybody loves it, and I've recommended it to. It's called Fire in the Valley, and it's basically the start of the Silicon Valley, with Apple Computer and Atari.
Oh, cool.
And IBM, and IBM, but Microsoft. So I would suggest that. There's also a great old PBS series about the homebrew computer club called The Triumph of the Nerds. You remember that one, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very good series as well.
I also remember Fire in the Valley too. I mean, it's quite an interesting history, and when you think about it, what's happened in a small amount of time. I mean, now that I look back on it, I think of it as a small amount of time. I suppose to a kid who's 15 years old, it was long time ago. But this stuff, I mean, the development, how we've gone from, the Apple computer and the IBM computer, home computer, to like a thing I hold in my hand that has more computing power than all the computers on the mission to the moon.
This
true.
phone.
I mean, they could have gone to the moon with an iPhone.
Hey, this is a 30 gigabyte SDHC chip.
Yeah.
When IBM had their computing systems, they were in floors and skyscrapers, and now 32 gigs in a little piece of thing like that.
The amount of memory in the original computers that they had was gigantic. I mean, they would take up several floors of a building just to have this much computing power.
Yeah.
And everybody takes this for granted now. You get on the train now, to Subway here in New York, and I counted the other day, and I think I only counted out of like about 20, 30 people on the train, 2 people who weren't looking at a phone. Everybody's looking at a phone. Then you go out to dinner, and everybody is eating dinner looking at their phone. They're like addicted to these things.
I know. That's why I like it, because, you and I guess a lot of the listeners, too, are radio people. We have the screens, and we use them when we want. But, I've had my phone out since 2:30 in the afternoon. I could probably maybe 5 minutes at the most I had the screen on because I'm listening to things.
I just look at it because I think it's pretty. And as I said before, this is the new iPhone X, and when I turn it off, see, it's off now, and then it hasn't recognized me yet because I'm not looking at it, but now I'll look at it, and it recognizes me, and the lock unlocks, and then I'm able to, it recognizes me, which is, as I said,
weird.
More than my wife does. So,
It's Minority Report, man.
By the way, we've lost a lot of viewers tonight. What's happening?
They don't know what they're missing. I mean, look what we have to offer them. This and this.
Yeah. Maybe they call up to hear us argue. I don't know. Where are you, folks? Come on back. What am I yelling? If they're not watching, they're not watching. Anyway, yes, yes, Tom.
Well, if you want to change your tech talk, I've got some breaking news.
Oh, yeah?
Our Interior Secretary, Ryan Zinke, has determined that the real cause of the forest fires here in California...
Wait a minute. Let me take a guess. It's not God.
No.
No. And is it... Well, our president said it was... I think too much water or something. I can't remember what our president said. But not enough water?
The water going into the Pacific. They weren't using it to put out the fires or something.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Well.
Okay. Zinke says it's all the fault of environmental terrorists.
Now, he is in charge of what again?
Department of Interior. Which means all the national forests.
Environmental terrorists. Well, yeah, they could. I mean, they could have started the fire, but I don't know. You could. A terrorist. Now you're giving. You know what he's doing? He's giving terrorists an idea of something to do.
Yeah, well,
that's
he wasn't talking about arson. He was saying that creating laws that make it more difficult to clear brush is the problem.
Wait a minute. Are the laws against clearing brush? I thought there were laws saying you had to clear it. Well, no, I mean,
even environmental policies, it hasn't any effect on us. It's what it is. It's climate change. We're having droughts. We're having hotter summers, and hotter all year long.
Tell me that this summer, this summer is the hottest summer on record. You realize that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
127 in Death Valley.
What?
127 in Death Valley.
Nice.
Well, it's always 107 in Death Valley.
No,
but,
27.
127 in Death Valley. Well, it's 127 in Baghdad. Okay, so but what I'm saying is that the weather this year has been unrelentingly warm.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody and people go, oh well, what I love is during the winter when they go, well, it's cold. There's no global warming. They don't understand. Global warming has nothing to do with things getting hotter or colder. It has to do with a general trend of the planet warming up and things changing. Yes, Keenan.
Look at India. India's had record heats this year too.
Yeah.
Record-breaking heat.
It's the oceans. It's the oceans, and and that's the other thing about these idiots that don't understand.
The oceans are the terrorists. That's the problem.
Terrorists.
Yes. No, what I always say is, also you have to understand this is a globe. This isn't the Northeast or the Northwest in the United States. This is a frigging globe. This isn't a little corner of the planet that has moving weather. This is the whole planet. This is all the ocean. The planet's mostly ocean. These idiots should have their heads up their rumps. What a bunch of dopes.
Well,
amen, brother.
That goes without saying, but that's what happens when you drain the swamp and supply your administration.
Yeah, when you
people.
listen to friggin' Michael Savage and have your head up, every sports game's ash.
Yeah. I don't know what you just said, but I'll go along with it just for that.
Well, that's all right. I don't know what I said either.
Right. Your thinking got ahead of whatever your brain was. Yeah. So, that happens to
me. My tongue got caught in my eye tooth. I couldn't see what I was saying.
Ta-da!
Hey, 24. We went up from 21. Now it's 25. Hey, all right, come on, people.
Yeah,
you can do this.
I don't know. You can do it. You can do it. If I just brought naked women on this program, I think probably the numbers would just go, But the thing is that all it takes? Is that all it takes? But if I had naked women on, then YouTube wouldn't run it. So hell, they would censor me.
Well, you could have semi-naked women.
Let me ask you this now: Twitter, who has not been censoring Alex Jones, has decided to censor Alex Jones. Now, hold on. It's really stiff what they're doing to him. They're blocking him from Twitter for a week. And they had the head of Twitter, and I don't know who this. They had the head of
Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey. What a brain trust this moron is. Okay, Jack Dorsey said, and I swear to you, we think it will send a message to him, and he will clean up his act. Wait a minute.
Do these Nimrods have any idea how all of this has just blossomed? Jones's web presence and his followers and
to begin with,
he still
has websites, right?
Yeah.
He still has, I think, an app at Apple. Okay, even though he took them off iTunes, there's an app.
Yeah.
In fact, let me look. I'll look and see if there's an app for Alex Jones. I
bet you dollars to donuts there is.
Let me see here.
Apple has an app.
What do you mean Apple has an app?
I'm just being silly because it's app.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, real funny.
Ray Renati is calling. Here we go. Hey, Ray, how you doing this evening? Let me see here.
Hello.
Alex Jones.
Oh, God.
There we go. There's Alex Jones Radio. Is it an app? Yes. Alex Jones Radio. Well, InfoWars Radio costs 99 cents, and you can get it on Apple, who has banned him from iTunes. Now, does that make any fucking sense at all? They ban him from iTunes, but you can buy his app on Apple.
Oh,
It's
God.
that Apple?
Don't get it.
And I heard that sales went up like crazy.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it's 99
It's
cents.
like Trump's trade war.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He put all these sanctions on the Germans, and they came to him and said, "Hey, we'll buy all kinds of shit."
That's a phony
from you.
InfoWars.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me just show people here my iPhone here. Let me see here. If you can see, but here is InfoWars official, and you can see it's got the logo and everything. Okay.
Wow.
And you can buy it up there. Okay, you can buy it on Apple. So
they're charging for it now. I got it for free the other day. I deleted it.
No, this is free. This one was free.
Oh, okay.
There was one there for InfoWars. It was 99 cents. Probably somebody trying to make money off of it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But that was what was going on with them. I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing. The hypocrisy of it all. I mean, the idiocy of Apple saying, well, we're going to show him. We're not going to run Alex Jones on iTunes. And then they're selling his app.
How stupid. Well,
And he's making a fortune.
Huh?
He's making a fortune on his app.
And so they are too. They get a royalty or something.
Right.
No, these companies, they have no scruples. I mean, this is what I tried to tell this idiot that I used to know, who was tried to be so far to the left he had no idea what the left was. He would nothing would satisfy him. Everything had to be better, and that's good, but he's never satisfied. Anyhow, I used to tell him, I said, you don't understand. Everything is a business, you know. You think about these companies and you want to ban them because they do this and they do that. All they want to do is make money. They'll sell you anything. They don't care what you say.
Well, the point is the point is that it's rather silly. Number one, it was really silly of Dorsey to say, well, you know, we're taking him off for a week, and that'll maybe make him clean up his act. What?
Yeah, right.
He doesn't give a shit. He's still selling his he's not selling his app, giving his app away, and then you watch it, and he's got commercials for male enhancement. I think is the stuff is a major sponsor.
Oh God.
Karl Marx said, when it comes time for a capitalist to commit suicide, another capitalist will sell him the rope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Karl Marx.
Wait a minute, Ray.
Did you talk about what Trump did today? Taking away the security clearance of
Brennan.
Brennan. Did you talk about that?
I have it here.
I mean, that just blows my mind.
John Brennan, who
speaking of blowing,
wait a minute, hold on a second. Hey, excuse me, John. I'm trying to talk to Ray. John Brennan, in case people didn't hear, who was the head of used to be the head of the CIA, isn't any longer. I think he was under Obama. Got his security clearance
Unbelievable.
Killed because he said Trump was a traitor, and so Trump said what's her name, Sarah Huckabee Fatfuck
Sanders
said that it was done because he was acting in an irrational manner.
Yeah, and he was telling lies.
Yeah, and he was telling lies, like that he's a traitor.
Who's that remind you of?
and there's a list of like 10 other people.
Hey, you asked me who does it remind?
They're all Democrats.
You're saying who does it remind me of? Doesn't remind me of Hitler. I knew Hitler, and he's no Hitler.
Who said that? It was
the guy. Oh, what's his
Oh,
name?
the senator from Texas.
Oh no, that was
that's line.
Yeah, it was running.
Yeah,
for vice president.
Oh, who was the guy? What's his name? Come on, guys.
I can't remember what it was. Quayle.
Oh, it was Dan Quayle.
I knew Jack Kennedy.
Yeah.
You know Jack Kennedy.
And you know Jack Kennedy.
Oh, damn, the senator was from Texas, right?
Oh, Lloyd Benson.
Lloyd Benson.
Wait a minute, Lloyd Benson.
Oh, that's
Wait a minute. I'm going to give it to Scott anyway because he was trying to yell it out and everybody was jumping in, but he had it.
Yeah, Scott had it.
Once you said Texas, then it dawned on me. Yeah, I forgot.
Right.
I can picture him, but yeah.
And when he said that, all America cheered. You could just hear a collective cheer go out.
And with the timing was so perfect. It was just perfect.
No, wait a minute. Who was he? Who was his running mate? Who was running for president at the time?
George H.W. Bush.
Mondale, or
no.
On the Democratic side.
Bob Dole.
Bob. No, it had to be. He was a Democrat.
Yeah, he was
Benson.
a Democrat. So it was either Mondale or Dole. Mondale or.
It was Dukakis.
Dukakis. That's right. Dukakis.
Boy, you know when you think about it, you just mentioned Mondale. You mentioned Dukakis. These are people who have just become an absolute footnote in history.
Yeah.
You know? Do you even remember Dukakis, Keenan?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Of course, the guy with the bushy eyebrows.
The guy with the bushy eyebrows.
There was no hope.
He might look like he's 25, but we remember Dukakis.
And his sister was the actress Olivia Dukakis.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
They weren't related.
And I talked. Yes, they were. It was his sister.
They were.
It was his sister.
No.
But I found out something about Olivia Dukakis, and I hope she's not. I think she's still alive. But go ahead, sue me. I talked to an actor who worked with her, and I said, "So how is she to work with?" He says, "There's only one thing I remember about Olivia Dukakis: her farting."
Oh no!
He said we'd be doing a scene, and she'd fart. And we try to do the job without gagging. Yes, so whenever I go to see a movie and Olivia Dukakis is in it, I think of her farting while she's doing the scene.
Olympia
Dukakis.
Yeah, because I couldn't find. I got Olympia,
right?
You got
right.
Olivia Newton-John.
Joan Rivers, I remember a comedy sketch she was doing about Dukakis, and she says, "I don't trust any man that has mustaches above his eyes."
Those were cool, man. Remember when he was in the tank?
But my question is, what possessed the If you want to talk about the Democrats as losers, what possessed them to nominate Dukakis? It made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, you just one look at this guy and you go, "We can't run this guy for president. He looks too goofy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
the
there's
Russians
something
rigged it.
about something about Massachusetts governors becoming president. I mean, Calvin Coolidge was a governor of Massachusetts. Mitt Romney almost became a governor. John Kennedy. Oh no, Kennedy was a senator. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So but all I'm saying is that
he's the cousin. Michael Dukakis was the cousin of Olympia Dukakis.
Oh, really? Not the brother? Okay.
Cousin.
Okay, you guys are armed with Wikipedia, and I can't get back here to get to it.
I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong.
I'm getting a second screen here somewhere where I can outdo you by going to because if I have to do it, I have to go back here to go look at it.
Well, we're your
that would make a great show. Just guys arguing fake news with different screens like this, and each looking at a different source, to validate whatever viewpoint.
Well, you need Phil here for that. I mean, Phil will
Today, there's an organization, I got an award from them, by the way, called the RTNDA, the Radio and Television News Directors Association or whatever. I should know the name of it because they gave me an award that I have somewhere, which is actually more prestigious, believe it or not, than an Emmy, because it's a really prestigious news organization. And they today have said that they are thinking of getting together and filing all kinds of things about the president calling the news fake news. That they think that he's sullying the industry, and that they object to that and they want the world to know it. Yeah, Tom.
More objectionable. He's calling the news profession the enemies of the people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably what they're really saying about.
Didn't Hitler say something like that about the news in his day?
All down through history have said the same thing.
Yeah.
The journalists are enemies of the people.
Well,
that's right.
You know, yeah, Ray.
So, enemy of the people is a phrase, like Tom said, that's been around for centuries, literally. And then Ibsen used it as a title of a play, The Enemy of the People,
right. It's about
in a sarcastic
guy,
way.
It's about a guy who
was trying to tell the truth.
Well, he was trying to tell the truth at the baths.
Yes, and no one would listen to him because they were afraid it would screw up the economy.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing. And so it's so ironic to me that he's using this phrase in the way that he is, given the Ibsen play. I mean, it's like that play all over again, and then he's using the title. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, amazing what he's doing. But anyway, the RNTDA is thinking of or it's RNTDA. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find. Maybe I can even find the story. RTNDA. RTNDA, the Murrow Awards, ethics. Here we go. Here they are, and then let's look at news. Yes, okay. I'm not looking at you folks because I'm having to read back here. It's the only way I can do it. That's why they have an advantage over me. If anybody can find this article right now, they can read it instead of me. Broadcast journalists are joining newspaper editors in a planned August 16th pushback on President Donald Trump's attacks on mainstream media as fake news. The Boston Globe is leading more than 100 local newspapers in the effort, which the Radio Television Digital News Association said Monday it was joining. We urge our members to join the effort on Thursday, August 16th by dedicating airtime, publishing an online editorial, or sharing information via social media platform that speaks to your viewers and listeners about the role we play in preserving the public's right and need to know. They're pushing back on this, but they're not pushing back in the way I've suggested, and that is to just threaten to stop reporting every stupid little thing that numbnuts does.
God, that would be great if they all got together and did that. And if the press stayed out of the White House.
I just get really bothered that the news people. Here's a guy who is literally sullying you, calling you fake news, calling you the enemy of the people, and then every day you give him all the publicity he wants. Every time he farts, you say he farted.
We were just talking about that because it's about money. We were saying how Jack Dorsey is kind of a pimp. Just says he's going to slap Alex Jones for 10 days or something.
Well,
but
his line was, and maybe that'll get a message to Alex Jones and he'll change his ways. What? Are you out of your fucking mind?
They're going to keep reporting on Trump because Trump makes money for them.
Facebook doesn't have pages on him. What do you call it? What we're on. YouTube won't broadcast him. A lot of organizations are not running him any longer. And he's still saying the same shit he was saying. Do you really think a week on waivers, putting him in the penalty box, sending him to his room, is going to change the way he does business? Yes, yes, Patrick. Tom.
Well, just getting back to Trump, the very least that they should do is stop covering these political rallies he's doing.
Right.
I mean, they're giving him wall-to-wall coverage on this, and I agree. More and more people are saying, "Hey, stop covering these rallies," because this is where these venues he's actually using to attack the press that they're covering it. Well, so it's totally ridiculous.
It's a codependent relationship.
Yes.
You know, and it's sick. Okay. Anyway.
It really is. It's just disgusting. I can't even believe this has happened to our country. Yeah. It's worse than Watergate to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a moral, intellectual decline, the likes of which this country has never seen before.
Right. It's just incredible. I never thought that this would happen.
I just don't understand how
in my lifetime
how people can his base can still think he's wonderful after all the things they hear that he does.
Yeah, but
you know,
what would Phil say? Phil would say, "But I like all the good things he's doing."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to be conservative tonight.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Hey, okay, guys, I just found this here on my Facebook page is a post from Blue Dem Warriors. It's this beautiful lady standing next to her car, and on the car is a big picture of Jesus with thorns, and it says, "Trump, the man who left his great life to be defamed, mocked, ridiculed, and humiliated to serve and protect America. Donald is mine, chosen divine. Stand with him before man, and I will stand with you before my Father in heaven." It's right on. I got California plates. Oh no!
What kind of Facebook friends do you have, for Christ's sake?
No, it didn't come from her. It's came from one of my progressive friends. Finding this somewhere, you know, and saying, "Hey, get a load of this, dude."
But I mean, you know, come on. You know, I think my friend Penn Jillette went to the Vulture or someplace like that and said he knows the tapes exist of Trump saying the word, the N-word, which we all know what the N-word means, so I don't know why we keep saying N.
I know.
He said that he, when he was doing The Apprentice, heard him say it to a point where it made him personally feel uncomfortable.
Wow, yeah.
All right?
Wow.
So, yes, Keenan.
There was an article in the CNN website today with Penn Jillette being quoted or being interviewed.
Yeah.
I read today. So.
Yeah, it probably is.
Wow, Penn Jillette has more credibility than Trump. This could be the beginning of the undoing of Trump. I have more credibility.
But see, the thing is, I mean, this is all a diversion because you're never going to convict Trump on anything for saying the N-word. It's not illegal. I mean, they're not going to care. He was a pussy grabber. He said all these other things they know that he said, and they don't care about that. I mean, this is a waste of time.
I still want to know how you grab a pussy.
Well, it has to be a big pussy.
Well, that's because you're blind and you can't see it.
So, hey, I could feel it, baby, if I wanted.
Well, okay, well, then you know how you grab a pussy.
There are some that you can grab.
Well, yeah, I guess you could grab the hair. I guess you could grab the snatch. I mean, you know.
Or if it's like large labia majora.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
sorry, but I just tell it like it is.
Yeah, labia majora, by the way, is not a constellation, in case people are wondering.
Hey, you know, it's just part of the human body.
I mean, we all thought that alone would get him. He wouldn't possibly win an election because of that.
Yeah.
And you know, we heard him say it, or we kind of heard him say it, because they kept bleeping out the word pussy. I mean, I wish they had left it the way it was, because then everybody would have heard it for how egregious it was. And even if you say, oh, well, that was a couple of years ago, and that's the way guys joked with each other. I'm sorry, I never joked that way with other guys. And if they started joking that way, I'd call them on it.
Yep.
You know, what kind of an asshole is Trump? He's a fucking hillbilly. You know?
Yeah. But that's exactly why, even if we hear these tapes, nothing's going to come of it.
Well, you know, he is absolutely right. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nobody would even come after him. Everybody would be defending him. The guy probably asked for it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, you know, a lot of New Yorkers are the ones who really, don't like him, I think, more, because they're used to him. They know that he's just full of shit.
Oh, we're happy that he got elected president because that's how we got him out of New York.
Well, that's a good point, too, yeah.
I mean, no, he's always was very unpopular in New York. New Yorkers looked upon Donald Trump as a, now I won't say carpet salesman because that would be besmirching Phil. They kind of looked upon him as a carnival barker. That he never really had any great business sense. He simply presented himself as a businessman, as a guy who knew, and then that was his cakes and cookies that he was selling. Was buy my book. I'm a rich guy. Buy my ties because I know how to have rich ties. Buy my steaks. This is what I eat because I'm rich. And then he would sell his name to put on the front of buildings he didn't even build.
That's right.
So it was all branding on his part. And, okay, that's fine. I understand it. But nobody ever took him seriously as a businessman.
No, he's not. My God, the guy is he's so ignorant. The guy is such a fool. I can't believe it.
Well, that's easy to say.
He's a gangster.
Huh?
Yeah.
He's a gangster.
Yeah. Wannabe.
Yeah, he cavorts with gangsters.
Well,
he does gangsterish things.
I'm going to defend him, okay? Because I live in New York and I know how business is done in New York. And that if you're a builder and you want to get a building built and you want the trades to come in and build your building, like the steel workers and so on, you got to have the mob on your side. You got to deal with the mob in order to get that building built. Because nothing.
Well, I know.
So that's who he did business with. And because he did business with them, that's the way he winds up doing business.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the only way he knows how to do it.
Hey, in the Catholic Church, too, my uncle was a priest in Chicago. And one of the regular guests that used to take all the priests out for dinner and treat them and donate lots of money was Carlo Gambino.
Of course.
There you go.
Of course, but you got to remember, the mob were Catholic. And so therefore, when it came to, to the church, this was a very holy thing to them. They were all very very religious. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. They never learned thou shalt not kill, but I mean,
yeah, I just got a little problem with that one.
Well, whatever's left of them, they still are.
Very funny. I can't remember the name of the guy, but I was at a party at Al Goldstein's house years ago, and his distributors were the mob. They had to be. The only way a magazine or newspaper went on the streets in New York City was if the mob transported. In fact, I remember reading an article in the New York Times that said Al Goldstein, publisher of Screw Magazine, distributes his paper through the mob. And I'm thinking about it and going, well, so does the New York Times. I mean, but one of his guys who was a distributor, and I can't remember his name now because he became very famous because he eventually got killed. And he had one of those. He had one of those middle names like the Animal, the whatever, the this, the that. I wish I could remember his name. Jesus, it was a great name too. You would all know it too. But anyway, he was there, and he lived out in Long Island. And he's sitting there griping at the party to us. The district attorney out in Long Island told me he wants me to move off the island. He doesn't want me there.
You talking about Sammy the Bull Gravano?
No, it wasn't Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I wish it was. It'd be even a better story.
Yeah.
But imagine that. The district attorney's asking me to move. Me! And I'm going, geez almighty, I don't want to be the district attorney. My life ain't worth shit about now. But in New York, you got used to, I knew that the mob, like Al at one point said, I want to start distributing my own magazine, which was Screw Magazine. And they said, well, go ahead and do it. You can put them on the trucks, but they're never getting off. You know. And he realized that he had to keep doing business with the mob in order to get his magazine distributed. Otherwise, he wouldn't get on the newsstands. So I understand that Trump, in being building homes and building houses, had to somehow deal with the mob. That's why Roy Cohn was his lawyer, because Roy Cohn was the mob's lawyer. And also the scariest man I ever met. Okay.
You met Roy Cohn?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see Angels in America?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I cheered.
I just saw it here in Berkeley Rep.
I cheered when he died. Roy Cohn, I'm telling you this now, and you've heard this story, I'm sure, Tom, because I've told it on several occasions.
I
forgot.
Yeah, we all heard it.
I'm saying this for Ray. Ray hasn't heard it.
I think I heard it, but I just forgot. So please tell me again.
I forgot.
It was a guy named Barry Farber had a radio show. What was that? I bet it was Steve making that noise.
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, really?
I'm home. It's quiet.
Well, it might have been
Not
Olympia
me,
Dukakis farting. I don't know. Anyway. No, quickly. I mean, I was doing this show with Barry Farber. He invited me over to his show to debate his guest. And I went in, and who's looking at me straight in the face but Roy Cohn? And we started arguing back and forth about stuff. And at one point, I said to him, how do you feel about the fact that you're responsible for the death of the Rosenbergs? The Rosenbergs were a very famous case of people who were the only people, I think, executed in the United States for espionage,
treason,
for treason and espionage, and he was leading the prosecution. And I said, how do you feel about the fact that you killed the Rosenbergs? And this resonated with me because it happened years and years and years earlier. But I remember when I was growing up, the slogan "Save the Rosenbergs." It was like stenciled on bus stops in Marin County, you know. Mm-hmm. And I looked at him and I said, how do you feel about the fact that you killed the Rosenbergs? And he said, I feel very good. And when he said that, he looked me straight in the face and said it with these, and people have described them the same way I did, shark eyes.
Yeah, wow.
Right?
Wow.
And when he said that, at that precise moment, I realized that I've come as close in my lifetime as I possibly could to looking at the devil.
Yeah.
You know, it was scary.
Yeah.
And Roy Cohn was a very scary, scary man. And he was the idol of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump taught him all about how to handle business and how to handle things. And that's why if you think your country's being run like a mobster's running it, a mobster is running it. He
is running it like Roy Cohn would have, that's for sure. Although Roy Cohn was a lot smarter.
Oh, yeah.
Way smarter.
And if nobody's ever seen Roy Cohn, go back and look at videos of the McCarthy hearings. And the guy sitting to the left of him is Roy Cohn. By the way, the guy sitting to the right of him, also working for McCarthy, was a guy by the name of Robert Kennedy. I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah.
That's why I never trusted Robert Kennedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, you see, I grew up in that whole era of the witch hunts, and it had a large impact on me and on my politics.
What did you think of Woody Allen's The Front? Remember that film was about blacklisting.
That movie is about something that truthfully and actually happened. That people who were writers who'd been canned, who'd made it into, there was this book in New York City that came out every week called Red Channels, and Red Channels listed people who were suspected of being communists, and if somehow your name got into it, you suddenly didn't have a job anymore. Now, who put out Red Channels? It was a guy who owned a line of grocery stores who decided he was going to publish this magazine, because he was like the most powerful advertiser on the East Coast. People would listen to him. If he said that, and there were a lot of big names, and people like Zero Mostel made it, and a lot of the people who were in that movie were blacklisted. If you made it to Red Channels, you just didn't work. And there was a guy named Louis Nizer. He was a lawyer. And there was this guy, and his name was, I'm trying to remember his name now, John Henry Falk. And he suddenly showed up in Red Channels. And Arthur Godfrey was the biggest thing in radio in those days. He was considered the successor to Arthur Godfrey. He was that good, that big, that important. And as soon as John Henry Falk made Red Channels, he was blacklisted. Wound up having to move back to Texas and work in some Texas radio station. And Louis Nizer at the time sued the guy who ran Red Channels, who ran these grocery stores, sued him for like $3 million, which at the time, when it was finally, he was found guilty, was the largest legal settlement in American jurisprudence. Now, you think about $3 million today and you go, come on, that guy's suing for billions. But back then, $3 million was a lot of money, and it put the guy out of business. So that movie resounded with me because I knew about Red Channels, and I knew about that whole period of people whose whole careers were ditched just simply on the inference, you know, you know, Zero Mostel has a line in the picture, Jesus Christ, I didn't know she was a communist. I just wanted to get laid. You know, and that's really the truth. That's what happened back in the day. You know, and, you know, there were other people like the writer, what's his name? The screenwriter.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it too.
Who I interviewed years ago. He wrote Spartacus.
You're not talking about Arthur Miller, are you?
No, I'm talking about he wrote Spartacus. He wrote the screenplay for Spartacus.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Hold on a second. I'll get the name. Spartacus. Oh, come on. I typed something. Go in there. Spartacus. Okay.
Had a catchy name.
It starts with a T. Let me see here. Spartacus, T, name is Dalton Trumbo.
Dalton Trumbo,
yeah,
right.
Dalton Trumbo.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him years ago, and he was kind of a hero of mine. You know, I mean, he survived it by writing. He wrote a screenplay for a movie called The Little One, or The Littlest something or another. And it won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. And because he did it under a false name, nobody ever picked up that Academy Award, and still hasn't to this day.
Yeah, interesting.
I think the Academy has since sent it to his relatives. But you know, the people's lives were completely ruined by blacklists. And
there's a huge list on Wikipedia of all the people on just in Red Channel. It's huge.
Okay, give a couple of names. Names we know?
Well, I mean, Arthur Miller, of course. Lee J. Cobb. The Stella Adler, Uta Hagen.
Uta Hagen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Howard Koch, screenwriter. Gypsy Rose Lee. I'm just trying to find people you'd know here. Burgess Meredith, Arthur Miller, Orson Welles.
Wow.
Paul Stewart, Pete Seeger, the folk singer.
Well, of course, he would be. He'd probably be at the top of the list.
Of course, he's on there. I mean, I can go on and on. There's all a bunch of people you know on here. Orson Bean. Remember Orson Bean?
Orson
Bean.
Yeah,
he was on the Hollywood Squares.
I'll tell you why Orson Bean. I'll tell you why Orson Bean made the list. Is because at my union, SAG, or not SAG, AFTRA, they had a slate of people running for the union. There was the pro-Red Channels group, who was represented by, are you ready? Bud Collyer, who was the voice of Superman. on radio. And Orson Bean, who was anti-red channels, and he won and became the president of the union. And that's why he's on that list. You know, I don't know why Orson Welles made it, but you know.
Well, he was pretty outspoken, I think.
Yeah.
As far as I remember.
But I always tell the story about the time I went into a meeting. At 15, I went into a hearing of the Un-American Activities Subcommittee hearings in San Francisco. My father was outside protesting, so I just walked in as a kid and walked into the room, and I saw them completely destroy the career of a morning talk show host. A guy I used to listen to every morning and loved his show. It was called San Francisco Story, and he just used to tell stories every morning about the history of San Francisco. There were no politics involved in it or anything, and they simply said, "Are you now? Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?" And he took the fifth, and that was the last day he worked at that radio station.
Wow.
And I saw his career ruined, and from that moment on, I realized I never wanted to ever see this happen again in America. So whenever I see anything that reminds me of it, you know, and sometimes the Me Too movement reminds me of it, where people are being accused of something without benefit of any kind of trial or even specifications made, you know, I tend to get a bit squeamish about it. So
and they've been blacklisted.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
Well, I mean, let's be honest about it. And I know people are going to find this hard for me, you know, when I say it, but a guy like Kevin Spacey, is he literally guilty of something, or is he being blacklisted?
Well,
he's probably being blacklisted, I would think.
Yeah,
we'll never know at this point because there's no due process.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There was no due no due process where the communist hearings were concerned as well, and yet people lost their jobs and didn't work for years. And maybe
Charlie Chaplin too was on the list.
I was in San Francisco. I was a kid. My father, I was old enough to go into a place that served alcohol. I went with my father to the Hungry Eye, which was a nightclub in San Francisco, to see Irwin Corey. I remember it. And my father said, "See that spotlight?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You know who's running it?" And I said, "No." And I think the name he said was Alfred Bieberman. He said he was one of the Unfriendly 10. Now he's running a spotlight at the Hungry Eye.
Oh.
You know, my father was a real lefty, so he would always bring that kind of crap. I was a red diaper baby if there ever was one, you know. And I asked my father once, I said, "Were you ever a communist?" He said, "No." And I said, "Why not? You know, politically, you're really to the left." And he said, "Because I realized that when people wanted me to join the Communist Party and be part of the Communist Party, that the only people that the Communist Party was going to help was Russia. It wasn't going to help America. And so I didn't, you know, if somehow it was going to help America, then maybe I would have joined it. But it wasn't going to help America, so I never joined it." But it was kind of the elitist thing back in the 30s to be a member of the Communist Party. And then come the 50s, everybody's going, "Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?" Well, yeah, back when I wanted to get laid, you know. So it's really, it's one of the uglier points in our history. So when The Front came out, I knew what it was about. It was amazing.
It was a great film. Yeah.
You know,
The Front.
I wish they'd make more films like that. They don't. You know, Denny Lehane, who wrote Mystic River, got a great book called The Given Day.
Wonderful, wonderful. You make that movie. You go ahead. You make the movie. Meanwhile, the people who want to make money are going to make another Defenders movie.
Yeah,
you know?
You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
They're going to make. You know, movies in theaters now are not movies. You know, they're amusement park rides. And
that's a good point.
So if that's what movies have become, that's what movies have become. This kind of stuff belongs on net. Thank God there's Netflix and there's HBO and there are places where they can tell these stories.
Yeah, right. You're right.
You know, But don't ask a movie company to pay for that. They won't do that. No. They want to know how many asses they're going to put, how many seats they're going to put, asses they're going to put in seats. I don't even know how some of these movies. My wife wants to go see The Black Klansman, and I want why? It's going to be on HBO in 3 months or Netflix or someplace like that. Why do we have to see it now? And I can't imagine that if you walked into the theater, it was going to be packed with people.
Yeah.
Because if you got special effects in 3D, did he do it in 3D? I don't think so. So I mean, there's a reason to go to a theater, and and that's for a big budget kind of like blowout special effects 3D film. But for the smaller films, wait 3 months, sit home. You're at home. You can watch them on your screen at home. They're going to look great. Yeah. And in fact, I wait for the big ones too now because it looks great on my 4K, which is exactly the resolution they project at the theaters now. So it's just a big 4K TV set you're watching. So
one thing I like about the theaters is the sound still, if they do it right.
Yeah, but I got great sound in my place too.
Oh, I don't.
I got the surround sound, the whole thing. No, I don't miss a bet. I don't want to have. Listen, I don't want to have to leave the house if I don't have to, okay?
Yeah.
Boy, thank you, everybody. I've gotten to some areas tonight that we don't normally get into and allowed me to tell some stories for the 84th time, so that's good, too. It used to be when I had, tens of thousands of people listening to me every morning, I could tell the same story over and over again, and people would not hear the same story all at once, right?
And you did,
but
too.
But now with the same 20 people, everybody hears the stories over and over again. Anyway, thank you very much, John Peroulis, for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Keenan, always nice to have you here. Good to have a new face on the program.
Yeah.
And Scott, always nice to have an old face on the program. I always feel good when you're there. I don't know why. Tommy Maguchi, I definitely feel good when I see your face on the program. And Ray, you're a gem. Okay? Thank you all. Why don't you give the audience a big wave goodbye so they can see your shiny little faces. Shiny little faces? Bye-bye, everybody. Okay, there they are. That's our citizens panel for tonight. They were a good citizen panel. And we'll be back again, next time. In the meantime, I do want to say to you that the intersection is next, and that's followed at 1 o'clock in the morning by Connections. Then tomorrow night at 9:30, it's Damian Chaplin, and he does a show called The Exchange. And once again, at 10 o'clock, I'll be back here. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, be sure to tell her I love her. Bye-bye.